Hello everybody and welcome back to the Files YouTube channel. My name is Florea Blagabel and I'm gonna be your today's host. I'm gonna choose to cover music, my favorite subject since I was a little kid, and something that is very close to me. I enjoy music not only as something that you can do by day-to-day basics and only listen, as a process. I love to be creative, I love to indulge and learn about the subjects and topics behind music, how it's done, how it can be altered in multiple subgenres and genres, and how different styles approach different messages and ideas behind the music. Today I'm going to cover 5 important genres of music that developed around same times but with different ideologies and visions. I'm going to give a few examples of tropes and melodies that I think represent the genre in itself, and then overall I'm going to explain to you how different subgenres appeared in industry. Let's go. First genre that I'm going to cover today is independent music, or known by the slang of indie. Is a broad style of music characterized by creative freedom, low budgets, because it's very much made by independent artists, and has a do-it-yourself approach to music creation. It originated from liberties afforded by independent record labels. Indie music describes a number of related styles and generally refers to guitar-oriented music that deviates from mainstream conventions, with a number of such genres of independent music which combine characteristics of other genres. The most important ones are indie pop music with the indie ideas of self-creation and independence, and creative flows and musical impressions. With that is also indie rock and indie folk, and mostly indie electronic music. Additionally, in a lot of circles, more private ones, the term indie has taken a definition of based on typical sound of independent music in the 1980s, and this loses its connection to production style. An important indie artist of the day is Tame Impala, or known by Kevin Parker, an Australian artist who covers a variety of genres as alternative hip-hop, progressive rock, and alternative music, with important hits like Eventually, newly released Dracula, will released at the end of last year, or Borderline, songs that have billions and hundreds of millions of views on YouTube. The second subgenre of today is more of a culture, more of an artistic flow in itself. It's hip hop. Hip hop is not only a music genre; it's an artistic impression and an artistic movement. It originated in the borough of Bronx in New York City, and is mainly founded by the black communities of the neighborhood. It is an art form and culture deviated and influenced by both male and female artists. It is characterized by the key elements of rapping, DJing, turntablism, and breakdancing. It has elements including graffiti, the art of urban style paintings, murals made by markers and spray tubes on certain walls, blocks in the public space, which is controversial because a lot of authorities think of it as an felony or a crime. I personally think that the graffiti is a form of an expression caused by social injustices and inconsistencies. Another thing, it's fashion and its own language. Hip hop fashion relies a lot on baggy hoodies and jeans, Timberland boots. Hip hop is overall a brand new and also very old idea and a phenomenon. It has an importance on sampling tracks, using old tracks from old songs and flipping it in a way that sounds original and new, but keeping the same essence of the original idea of the track. Beats bass lines from old records to the art from instead. Much of the culture has revolved around the idea of updating classic recordings, attitudes, and experiences from modern audiences. And the last important thing of hip-hop is sampling. Sampling is a culture in the hip-hop subgenre and art movement. It relies a lot on blues, jazz, ragtime, funk, salsa, and disco inspirations for the samples of the songs, because it comes from the source and the origin of the predominant minorities found in the Bronx borough where hip-hop was mentioned and founded. African, Caribbean, or Latino influences. The third subgenre we're going to talk about today is alternative metal. It's a genre of heavy metal music which combines heavy metal itself with influences from alternative rock and other genres normally associated with the metal idea itself. It's very often characterized by heavily down-tuned with bass guitar riffs, a mixture of accessible melodic vocals, but also has harsh vocals and sometimes sounds that are unconventional within other heavy metal styles. Term initially started to be used around the 1980s, although it came into prominence into the 1990s. Other genres considered part of the alternative metal movement include rap metal and funk metal, both which influenced the prominent subgenre nu metal. Alternative metal began in the 1980s with bands like Faith No More, Living Colour, Soundgarden, and Jane's Addiction, and this genre achieved success in the 1990s with the popularity of bands like Helmet, Tool, and Alice in Chains. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, nu metal achieved the mainstream popularity with the mainstream success of bands like Korn, Limp Bizkit, Papa Roach, System of a Down, Linkin Park, Slipknot, and Deftones. After the mid-2000s, nu metal popularity began to decline, with many nu metal bands moving on to other genres. Nu metal itself has, and alternative metal itself has a lot of loyal fans still remaining. However, not a majority of them are gonna be active in promoting this genre to younger audiences. A good example that I also mentioned earlier is Deftones, which I have an example of one of their albums right here. It's called White Pony, and it's released around the year 2000. It contains 11 songs in the alternative nu metal subgenre. It's very aggressive but low paced, with a lot of calm tunes, but also aggressive shouts and riffs. The fourth genre we're going to talk about today, it's one that I already mentioned a bit earlier. It's called nu metal. It's a subgenre of the alternative metal and combines elements of heavy music with genres as hip hop, funk, industrial, and grunge. Nu metal guitarists often use 7-string guitars that are down-tuned to produce a heavier sound. Usually in rock and another genres of rock, guitars have around 5 strings or something like that. Vocal styles are often rhythmic and influenced by hip hop. In nu metal, people tend to have a lot of, rhyme schemes, fast-paced lyrics, which in another subgenres of rock or metal is not really common, because rock relies on lower, more impactful and slow-paced tunes instead of the nu metal's fast-paced, energetic style. In the late 1980s and 1990s, bands like Pantera, Helmet, and Faith No More were influential in the development of the genre with their groove metal and alternative styles. The band Korn, often credited with the pioneering of the subgenre around the late 1990s. All releasing bands such as Korn, Limp Bizkit, and Slipknot were the main culprits and the main pioneers of the subgenre, all of them having albums that sold millions of copies. The last genre I want to talk about is called rhythm and blues, or known modernly as R&B, even though we have the modern day R&B, which is slow-paced music with ideas of love or betrayal, with a very melodic and catchy type of beat, is not what it originally was. Rhythm and blues, known as R&B at the moment, is a genre of popular music that originated with the African American communities in the 1940s. This term was originally used by record companies to describe the idea and the genre itself, as marketed predominantly to African Americans at a time when rock and jazz-based music with heavy, insistent beats was starting to become more popular. In the commercial rhythm of the same tone throughout the 1970s and 1950s, the band usually consisted of a piano, 1 or 2 guitars, bass, drums, 1 or more saxophones, and sometimes background vocalists. R&B lyrical themes often encapsulate the African American history and experience of pain and quest of freedom and joy, as well as triumphs and failures in terms of societal racism, oppression, and relationship between economics and aspirations. The term has undergone a number of shifts in meaning. In the early 1950s, when the subgenre started to officiate and be more recognized, it was frequently applied to blues records. Starting in the mid-1950s, after this style of music contributed to the development of rock and roll, the term became used in a wider context. It referred to music styles that developed, form, and incorporated electric blues, as well as gospel and soul. By the late 1970s, the term rhythm and blues has changed once again and was used as a blanket term for the genres of soul and funk. In the late 1980s, a new style of the R&B subgenre developed. It was known as contemporary R&B. This form combined rhythm and blues with various elements of jazz, soul, funk, disco, blues, and electronic. The subgenre had a lot of changes since it was released. Now it's very commercialized electronic, besides the old-fashioned, classical, and authentic style of it, which is not what the subgenre intended, because the main themes were more like oppression and raising awareness for social issues, while the most themes in modern day R&B songs are love, betrayal, and revenge against somebody that made you something bad. This was my video and my part of the Files channel about music. My name is Flavia Gabriel and I was today's host, and I enjoy being around you. Stay tuned for more ideas and posts from my colleagues on certain topics that might entertain you. Have a nice day and see you soon.